everyone. It's great to have you with us. I'm Jamie Colby, and this is Fox News Live. Scotland Yard is tracking the last days of a former spy now murdered by radiation poisoning. Could the toxin that killed him be putting others in danger? We are live in London. And hope is fading fast for two little boys in Minnesota missing since Wednesday. Searchers climbing the North Woods in very cold weather with an FBI reward offered for any information. And could Kramer's rant cost him his Seinfeld fortune? The hecklers that were harassed by Michael Richards now looking for more than an apology. That's coming up and a lot more in your Fox 5. But first, the curfew has been extended in Baghdad, the government keeping it in place for a third day as U.S. and Iraqi forces killed terrorists in Iraq. Dozens dead in fighting north of Baghdad. Our Steve Harrigan is live for us in Baghdad with the very latest. Steve.
Jamie, that curfew in effect because of some of the worst attacks since the start of the war. Burials still going on for some of the more than 200 Iraqis killed in Thursday's attacks in a part of Baghdad known as Sadr City. Some of those bodies being taken on the rooftops of small cars or inside minivans. They're being transported about 100 miles south to the city of Najaf, a holy city for Shiite Muslims. So the curfew is in effect, the airport shut down, road traffic shut down, but it hasn't stopped the violence. Some retaliation violence against Sunni Muslims over the past 2 days. At least 30 Sunnis killed in parts of Baghdad, some the victim of hand grenade attacks. At least one Sunni mosque partially burned by attackers as well. This as U.S. and coalition forces continue to mount attacks, this time against bomb makers. More than 20 suspected terrorists killed. U.S. forces launching an airstrike against a suspected bomb-making factory just north of Baghdad and destroying that factory. Jamie, back to you.
Steve, let me ask you before you go, what does it really mean there for curfew? I mean, insurgents aren't going to obey it, so who is staying off the street?
It does really cut almost all the traffic down on the streets. You don't see cars going around, so it really puts a limit on potential car bombings. It is a real hardship for the people. A lot of people who are caught at work when that curfew went into effect really have to sleep in their workplaces. It's an eerie sense on the road, too. We were stopped at an Iraqi police checkpoint the other day, and sometimes it's tough to tell whether they really are Iraqi police or whether they are terrorists masquerading in fake uniforms.
That is for sure. And Steve, are there enough Iraqi police, genuine Iraqi police, to enforce a curfew?
The real concern is about the ability of the Iraqi police to enforce a curfew as well as their loyalties, many of them loyal to Shiite militias. So not a lot of people have confidence in the Iraqi police, and so far the curfew has slowed the violence, but it certainly hasn't stopped it. We've heard a lot of gunshots and explosions behind us, mortars earlier tonight, no reports on casualties.
All right, and Steve, we want you to stay safe. Be careful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The new government of Lebanon is at a crisis point, today approving a UN court to try suspects in a dozen political assassinations. But Hezbollah leaders would like to topple the democracy, calling the whole process illegal. Dana Lewis joins us live from Beirut with the latest on that. Hi, Dana.
Hi, Jamie. Yeah, I can tell you, we've been walking the streets here tonight. There's a lot of extra security. The Lebanese army out in full force tonight as that special cabinet meeting was taking place that you have referred to. And essentially, they have agreed to endorse the special UN independent tribunal that will investigate and then presumably try those responsible for a string of political murders in this country. We first of all show you some shots of that security earlier tonight that we took. Just in case of trouble, about 5,000 to 8,000 extra Lebanese soldiers took up positions in Beirut. Today, hours before the special and controversial cabinet session was to begin, a meeting boycotted by the Shiite Hezbollah party, which is calling the process illegal and has resigned from cabinet. Tensions running high here this week with the assassination by unknown killers of Christian cabinet minister Pierre Gemayel, gunned down in his car in Beirut. People continue to pay their respects at the Gemayel home today. The motive for the murder, say many here, to try to intimidate the government from endorsing the tribunal to identify and try the killers of, among others, former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. But tonight, Prime Minister Siniora convened the cabinet as he has promised to do. He endorsed the special tribunal, but the pro-Syrian president is likely to refuse to sign that cabinet decision in the coming days, say sources. Hezbollah against the tribunal is now threatening massive demonstrations next week, maybe as early as tomorrow, to stop the process and dismiss the government. Christian leaders say Hezbollah is being used by Syria, which is suspected of carrying out some of these killings, to destabilize the Lebanese government.
They are pushing us to accept new conditions on how to rule the country against what is stipulated in the constitution. There's a kind, let's call it a coup, let's say a practical coup without making a military coup. This is a constitutional coup.
Jamie, I want to tell you one quick thing before we let you go. Imagine that the anti-Syrian dominated cabinet, they need 16 seats to be able to hold on to government here. They've got only 17 seats. They are so worried about the violence here that we are told that cabinet ministers are not sleeping at home. They are sleeping in one of the best guarded buildings in the center of Beirut tonight. The prime minister's residence and office is just about a half a block away from where we are. They're sleeping in that building.
It's incredible. Dana Lewis live in Beirut for us. Thanks so much. And a former Russian spy basically turned into a walking bio-bomb, according to British authorities. Alexander Litvinenko left traces of the radioactive material that killed him around London. It was polonium-210, and it was discovered at a sushi bar and at the Millennium Hotel he visited before his death. Health agents want anyone who was at either location to contact them immediately. There's much more ahead for you on the mystery of his murder and who might be involved, plus your emails. You're already weighing in. Do you think we will ever know the truth about who killed Litvinenko? Email me at jamie@foxnews.com, and I will read those later this hour. Moving on now, Vice President Dick Cheney in Saudi Arabia for a sit-down with King Abdullah. And expected on the agenda, of course, Iraq and what the Saudi royal family, who are Sunni Muslims, can do to help. In recent days, Sunni insurgents killing hundreds in Iraq. President Bush visiting the region next week. He will talk about the increasing violence in Iraq, and he's scheduled to meet with Iraq's prime minister in Jordan. The prime minister of Turkey calling this a very important meeting. He says dividing Iraq could start a civil war. Joe Reeder joins us live. He's a former undersecretary of the Army. Joe, thank you for being with us.
Good to be here.
And certainly dividing up Iraq may be one of the things that comes out as a suggestion in the Iraq study group. Are you in favor of that?
Jamie, you've got no good solutions. I would say that would be the best of three bad solutions. One is to give up and go home, declare that we failed. Two would be to partition. Three would be to say that democracy is basically failed in this particular environment and bring back a strong man like Alawi. Of the three, I would say partition is probably the least worst alternative.
So Vice President Cheney meets with King Abdullah to try to drum up some support from neighboring countries. Are there other countries that you think would be worth trying to generate support, because so many of them seem to be behind the insurgency?
I think that it's worth trying. Counting on it, given what they've done and their support for terrorism, is a long shot, but obviously we ought to be dialoguing. We ought to be seriously dialoguing with them. I wouldn't put a lot of expectation in that, but you've already got essentially a regionalized division, and the reason it ought to be broken up is we don't have any strong central government. There should be a central government, but the fact is you could coalesce around regional leaders like Barzani in the north. Certainly the Shias have a leadership in the south, and the Sunnis, but then you put the heavy fist of government in a sort of a velvet glove of someone local that you can identify with, and then you give them something to protect, and then you let them choose what they want to reconstruct, what they want the billions of dollars to be spent for, and then they have something vested in protecting it. Jamie.
You know, Joe, we're looking at video of the increased violence. It's certainly been a terrible week there. You say that setting deadlines, even if they're not met, motivate. What do you mean?
I didn't know that I said that, but that's something that I would certainly say. When you set a deadline, Jimmy, everybody can plan around it. If you say we're going to do something by a certain date, and then you set up milestones, what needs to happen is they need to understand that we could very well leave on the deadline we set, and they need to meet those milestones. At the same time, if and when we get to that deadline, it doesn't make sense. The insurgents need to understand that we reserve the right to change our mind depending upon what the terrain looks like at a given point in time.
How critical, when the president meets with al-Maliki, how critical is Muqtada al-Sadr's support for al-Maliki. Can he be effective in the long term?
He's no friend of the United States. Jamie, never will be. He is, however, the backbone support of Maliki, which renders Maliki pretty weak. Right now, what you'd like to do is to shut down the militia, and if you have to, kill him. The guy either has to come within the central government or he ought to be eliminated. The fact of the matter is, with the Sunni insurgents and the death that they've wreaked and the bombing of the Samarra mosque, it's very difficult credibly, and I wouldn't do it to tell him to shut down, because basically the Shias see him as their only protector.
Joe Reeder, thank you so much for being here.
You betcha.
Protestant extremist Michael Stone facing 5 counts of attempted murder, and he's still denouncing efforts to build a unified administration in Northern Ireland. Stone triggered the evacuation of the Northern Ireland Assembly yesterday when he tried to blow up the building. He was carrying nail bombs, a fake handgun, and an axe when security guards tackled him. It is a busy travel weekend, and how much is a speedy check-in at the airport worth to you? The Transportation Security Administration now offering a fast lane through airport security, but it's going to cost you. Julie Kurtz is in Washington with the details. I'm all for it, Julie. Sign me up.
Hi, Jamie. Well, right now, 30,000 frequent flyers have shelled out $99.95 to zip through airport security in a pilot program in Orlando's airport, but the Smart Card security program could be coming to an airport near you soon. After years of funding setbacks and delays, TSA has announced it will charge airports and private security companies $28 a passenger to process all the security information. This means private companies can now move ahead and expand the travel register program to more airports. Security companies say they hope to keep the fee charged to passengers at under $100 a year. The company operating the system in Orlando says it has plans to expand to Cincinnati, Indianapolis, San Jose, and the British Airways terminal at New York's JFK as early as January. TSA found pre-screening did not compromise security in Florida, but that is always a concern, according to TSA's chief.
I think the key thing is that there are people out there plotting to attack, and what specific measure they use might vary as they see security measures vary. So we have to be alert, not just to be locked in on whatever the latest one is or the one that we think they might use.
While they hope it will expand in January, TSA officials have not said when the registered travel program will be available to frequent flyers at major U.S. airports across the country. Supporters of the pre-screening system say it will lead to faster and easier trips through security, but only for those who sign up, pay the annual fee, and submit to background checks and fingerprinting ahead of time. Jamie?
Well, we're all thinking about it. Julie, thank you. They are calling him the Black Horse Strangler. Police looking for clues to 4 murders now, with fear rising that it's a serial killer that could be targeting more victims in a famed tourist resort town. Also, the wiretapping program, remember it? President Bush says it can help save American lives by listening to terrorist phone calls. But the new Democratic Congress is promising big changes when they take over. So what will happen to this program? Plus, in a note from his deathbed, a Russian spy poisoned by radioactive polonium condemns Vladimir Putin. And that's our email question. Do you think that we will ever learn the truth about who killed Alexander Litvinenko? Email me at jamie@foxnews.com. A lot of you are already writing me. Blair says if Putin wanted him dead, he would have done it, but we would have never seen him again. And also, Walter in Sacramento says Putin is certainly behind the murder. Russia is enemy of the free. You're all weighing in. Jamie@foxnews.com. A lot more ahead right here on Fox News Live on America's Newsroom.
The captioning for this program is brought to you by...
New from the makers of Head-On, introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts.
Activon, available at CVS Pharmacy.
The Philips Norelco Smart Touch XL adjusts to your face for a closer shave with 50% more shaving surface and 3 shaving rings in each shaving head. Philips Norelco, the world's best-selling electric shaver. Simplicity is making every stroke count.
Love your look? Or change your look with LensCrafters 30-day unconditional guarantee and 2,000 styles to choose from. You can wear them or change them till you love them. Guaranteed. LensCrafters.
The Philips HD Flat TV with Ambilight is the only flat TV with the power to transform a mood at the touch of a button. Simplicity is a button that transforms television.
I've always wanted a farm, like my grandparents used to have, with a stable, you know, for the horses. A place where everyone can get together. Kids, grandkids, all my cousins, the whole family. And then pass it on to all the generations that come after me.
You once made a promise to yourself about your future. At John Hancock, we have the products you need to help build, protect, and sustain the future you've always wanted. John Hancock, the future is yours.
She was a powerful political figure, smart, ambitious, and poised for bigger things, until she turned up dead. Who would want to kill Kathy Augustine? We pieced together the forensic evidence, the motive, and revealed the disturbing and dark past of the man who stands accused, her own husband. Go inside the police investigation when Greta unravels a mystery that stunned this gambler's paradise. Today, watch Crime Scene: Gambling on Love, hosted by Greta Van Susteren.
Hamas ready now to allow peace talks. The head of the militant group saying it agrees to 6 months of negotiations, but also warning what will happen if nothing comes out of those talks. Jennifer Griffin is live in our Mideast Bureau following developments there. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jamie. Well, it's somewhat unusual for Hamas's external chief, Khalid Mashal, to leave his base in Damascus and travel all the way to Cairo. That's where he met with Egyptian intermediaries today to talk about a possible unity government with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and his Fatah party, and also to talk about arranging a prisoner exchange for Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit, who Hamas captured back in June. Now, Mashal knows that President Abbas needs progress on both fronts in order to get international aid flowing again to the Palestinians. That aid was cut off after Hamas came to power earlier this year and refused to recognize Israel and renounce violence. Instead of announcing a unity government today, however, the Hamas leader chose to issue a warning. If the U.S. and Europe miss what he called a, quote, historic chance to negotiate a Palestinian state in the June 1967 borders, then Hamas and the Palestinians, he said, will launch a third intifada, or uprising, against Israel. Israel, which continues to carry out military operations today in the northern Gaza Strip to stop Palestinian rocket fire, Jamie, rejects a return to the 1967 borders, which would give the Palestinians all of Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem, including the Old City. Now, Israel's public security minister, Avi Dichter, the former Secret Service chief here, said he isn't sure the Palestinians are even capable of carrying out a third uprising. If they could, he said, they would do so tomorrow. Now, what is significant is that Mashal suggested that he is willing to allow President Abbas, on behalf of the Palestinians, to negotiate with Israel and to negotiate, basically, to negotiate with Israel a Palestinian state in the 67 borders. That suggests that Hamas has changed its tune a bit and might accept Israel in the 67 borders. This suggests a softening, but we'll have to see whether Hamas really means it. Jamie, back to you.
Jennifer Griffin in our Mideast Bureau, and we want to bring you now new video into Fox News of those explosions that Jennifer was describing, a chaotic scene there. The hospital nearby reporting at least one person has died, several others injured. As you see here, the crowds coming to the aid. Here is some of the destruction that was done. Jennifer reporting on these explosions in Gaza just happening in the last hour, and this new video into Fox. Much more on this as we follow this developing story in Gaza. At least one person dead. A former spy dies in days of radiation poisoning. The toxin that killed him, it's one of the rarest in the world. So where did it come from? The latest details on a Cold War murder. And then it's been ruled illegal, so why is the NSA wiretap program still going on? We're going to take a look at why Congress and the courts may be dragging their feet. And also, we asked you whether or not you think we'll ever find out what killed this Russian spy. Where did this plutonium come from? Who had it? Is Vladimir Putin involved, as he wrote in a note? Lots of your emails coming in. These two from Kevin in McKinney, Texas, and also Joanne in California, they say you have to look at Putin. He was in the KGB, too. He may have done this type of thing when he was an agent. Why not now? Well, Scotland Yard is looking into it. We're going to have a lot more on this story when we come back.
Because Fox is where the news is.
If you're concerned about catching a cold or the flu this season, here's an idea. Move to a deserted island and avoid other people for 6 months. Or just drink a glass of Florida orange juice every day.
Give your immune system more of the vitamins and minerals it needs. Florida orange juice. Healthy, pure and simple.
From me to you. Let's do this. If there's anything that you want, come on. If there's anything that I can do, let's go. Just call on me. I'll send it along with love from me to you.
Batteries Plus is your one-stop holiday shopping source for anything that needs a battery. Remote control toys, cameras, camcorders, cell phones, laptops, MP3 players, and every other battery-powered gadget imaginable. The holidays are always happier when batteries are included. Remember, if it needs a battery, all you need is Batteries Plus, America's battery experts.
Batteries Plus on Canyon Road in Beaverton and in Portland on Southeast 82nd.
And at 30th and Northeast Broadway.
Now that was a dinner party. I wish there was a way we could do this faster.
Yeah, I got an idea. Let's go crack open your computer and take out some of the high speed.
Holy. The new Democratic Congress promising big changes in Washington, but the Bush administration's warrantless wiretap program continues with no new action from either Congress or the courts so far. My guests will tell us what they think will happen. Dennis DeConcini, former Arizona senator and chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and Sandy Rios, Fox News contributor and president of the Culture Campaign. Great to have both of you.
Hi, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Senator, let me start with you and ask you, what do the Democrats plan to do with this program?
Well, Jamie, I'm not privy to what they're going to do. I'm not sure they've decided, but I suspect, and I have some indications from talking to some of the members that have been there for a while, and even Arlen Specter, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, who will be the ranking member when Senator Leahy takes over, there will be an effort to correct the Patriots Act that was passed and really forced through Congress. After the Supreme Court ruled that what they were doing with wireless warrants wireless taps was unconstitutional, we passed in 1978 the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. It was carefully done. I was there then. It has worked. You ask the judges. You can go back after 30 days and get the warrant after you have to do it if it's an emergency. And this was a foolish step, and I think it will be corrected here. And notwithstanding what the administration will say, if you oppose this, you're unpatriotic. That isn't the case at all, and the Supreme Court has told them that.
Well, let me let Sandy weigh in, because, Sandy, we have heard examples brought to our attention of this program working to obtain intel. So Nancy Pelosi wants to investigate the program, at least. Are you worried at all about more information about its mechanics getting out and in the hands of terrorists?
Absolutely, Jamie, and I think that the Democrats have a very explicit history in how they would handle intelligence. We know that in 1978, the legislation that Senator DeConcini just referenced did a lot to destroy our intelligence services, made it impossible for them to communicate with each other. In 80 through 86, there was an attempt to kind of put the intelligence services back together. And in 1986, from 1986 to for the next 10 years, Senator Patrick Leahy, with his chief of staff, John Podesto, single-handedly undermined, leaked information, caused the death of U.S. agents overseas because of the information they were leaking.
That's absolutely incorrect, Jamie.
Patrick
That's
Leahy was
absolutely
censured
incorrect.
by the Senate because he leaked
He
to
was
a
not
reporter.
censured by the Senate.
I can actually give you every detail, Senator DeConcini, and that's
Not
the
correct.
hands
I
in
was
which we're
there.
delivering.
I was there,
Yes, and that means you have a shameful part in this. You know,
That's
the
awful
Democrats
for you to
have
say
a
that.
very bad
That's awful
history
for you to say that.
on. Yeah, and so you know what? When we came to 9/11, we had so dismantled our intelligence agencies that we were not equipped to fight, Senator DeConcini, and I wonder
and
what part you played in that.
Well, you know, Jamie, who was in charge of the intelligence was Ronald Reagan and George H. Bush.
Well,
and
let me
it
ask
wasn't
you.
working well, and it
No,
wasn't working
no.
well.
Well, Senator,
and it wasn't
Sandy,
working. Wait a minute.
Sandy,
it
if
wasn't
I
working
could,
well
you know,
when
if I
Clinton
could,
was
Sandy,
there.
let me ask
I
the
was
senator
chairman,
this.
I was chairman
Senator-
of that committee.
And what's
with
your
John
feeling?
Warner, and we worked together to correct some of the measures, particularly the
You
lack
didn't
of
do
human
anything to
intelligence.
correct anything except to undermine the intelligence
Senator,
agency, Senator
Yes.
DeConcini.
Let me ask Sandy. Let me
Absolutely
ask the
incorrect, Sandy.
senator this, please, if you could, Senator. What's your feeling about the Intel Committee in the hands of Alcee Hastings?
Well, I think that's a mistake. I was in the Senate when Mr. Hastings was impeached. I was part of that impeachment, and I think that would be a grave error on Pelosi and the Democrats' side, and I hope they don't do that. The year's indication they're not going to do that.
Sandy, isn't that what they've said they want?
That they want Alcee Hastings?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that Nancy Pelosi wants him, and I think I'm glad Senator DeConcini feels the way he does about that. That's shameful. I mean, this is a man that was impeached for bribery, and we think that he's not vulnerable to being bribed again for any intelligence that he might have. I can't imagine that she would consider him as chief of this particular committee or head of this particular committee.
And
you know, the thing I'm reading is that
Sandy,
she
it
has
has
kind
not
of
happened.
Well, before we go, guys, and I only have about 30 seconds, can I ask you, Senator, in the meantime, while they decide what they're going to do with the program, is our national security at risk?
Well, the national security is at risk constantly, and there's never going to be a time when it isn't. It depends on how well, really, the intelligence agency can work together. We have an opportunity with Mr. Negroponte, who I know quite well and worked with him. He might pull it together. And if he does, it'll be the first time. And it won't be because of Democrats or Republicans. It'll be because somebody who understands Washington can pull it together and make it work and take on some of the very important intelligence agencies that always want to be separate and don't want to share. I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican.
I have to let that be the last word, Senator.
And that happened because of the legislation in 1978
Sandy,
that you're bragging
do you
about.
hear the
That was
music?
separation.
Not correct.
They're telling me I have to go.
Sandy.
Sandy Rios and Senator DeConcini, I knew it would be
Thank
a
you,
great
Jamie.
and fair and balanced debate. Thank you. A firefighter in a bone-chilling situation that could have killed him coming up, the ordeal and the desperate rescue attempt. Plus, cops calling him the Black Horse Strangler. 4 women murdered so far. The race to stop a killer before he strikes again. Plus, a rare and deadly radioactive toxin kills a former KGB spy in just a few days. Could others who were with him in his last days suffer the same fate? And is the Kremlin really behind the murder? Your emails coming in on our question of the day. Do you think that we will ever find out what happened to Alexander Litvinenko? Send your responses to Jamie@foxnews.com, and they are coming in. Sherry Davis, Bonita Springs, Florida. You say you're concerned. Where is polonium? Who else has it? Could it get into the hands of terrorists? Well, we're going to tell you when we come back. We have an expert on Russia. Join us right after the break.
You grip, you turn, you slip. Yuck! There must be an easier way to open that can. Introducing the One Touch Can Opener, the fast, easy way to open cans. The One Touch Can Opener is totally automatic. Just place it on the can, press the button, and your can opens in seconds. Amazing! Look, manual can openers take so much twisting and turning it can be almost impossible to open a can. But with the one-touch can opener, you just touch and go. It's that easy. Best of all, it works on any size can, small, medium, or large. Nothing is easier than the one-touch can opener. Watch out. With ordinary can openers, that lid is sharp enough to slice your finger. But the one-touch cuts from the side, so there's no sharp edges, and the lid can never fall in. You'll never have to dig that dusty, germ-filled lid out of your food again. Leftover pet food? The lid pops right back on the can to store in the refrigerator. That saves you money.
My arthritis actually made it painful for me, but with the one-touch can opener, I can push a button and the can is open for me.
Move over, bulky can openers, and say hello to counter space. Just press and go. Nothing is faster or easier. The one-touch can opener really will be the last can opener you'll ever have to buy. Now, on this special TV offer, get the one-touch can opener for the breakthrough price of just $19.95 with a money-back guarantee. If the one-touch isn't the easiest can opener you've ever used, just return it for a full refund. Call right now and we'll also include the GripMate, absolutely free. It's perfect for every hard-to-open jar or bottle. Just grip, twist, and pop. Stop struggling with those other can openers. Get the one-touch can opener and touch and go forever. Here's how to order.
Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-535-4197 to order the one-touch can opener for just $19.95 plus shipping and handling. As a special bonus, you'll also receive the GripMate absolutely free. So call 1-800-535-4197. That's 1-800-535-4197. Call now.
Plenty of sunshine through today with seasonal temperatures. We should reach our normal high of 80.
What a marvelously glorious looking shape. What a superbly spectacular marvel of rotating titanium.
I love this shaver. For a close, comfortable shave, get the world's only rotary with the power of titanium. The new Remington Titanium Rotary.
And we wanted to give you a live look now outside Fox headquarters in New York City. Shoppers showing no sign of letting up. They were all over the streets again today, but you were smart. You're home watching Fox. You didn't need to get a jump on those holiday bargains. But for those that do need to go out, meteorologist Rick Reichmuth not shopping either. He's here with your forecast and also your, oh, I'm so full. How am I going to get home? Rick?
Isn't that the truth? Do you see the nice decorations outside the Fox headquarters?
It's Christmas here already. It's beautiful.
It sure is. They're putting them up inside today, too, and it looks very nice. Temperatures really across much of the eastern part of the country, absolutely beautiful. Anywhere you see this yellow, temps are into the 60s. Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley as well, and a lot of sunshine all here. Not everybody's dealing with warm air, though. Look at this. Temperatures only into the 20s towards Fargo. That is going to be the case all week long. Cold Arctic air about to filter in across much of the northern part of the country, but it's going to be slow moving. A little bit of precipitation across the Central Plains right now. No major problems, at least for this system for right now. This is our bigger concern right now. Another system moving into the Pacific Northwest will bring more rain, wind, and snow for tonight, tomorrow, and into the day on Monday. And parts of Northern California are going to get in on some of this action. Well, if you are making your travel plans back home tomorrow, here's a look at the forecast. Much of the central part of the country still looking pretty nice. A little bit of rain, maybe even a thunderstorm or two across parts of Iowa and into Illinois. Meanwhile, more weather out across parts of the west. That's really the only trouble spot. And the East Coast remains absolutely beautiful. New York City into the 60s. Will be upper 50s towards Boston. All of the mid-Atlantic states looking absolutely beautiful for your Sunday. All right, Jamie.
I'm invited back. Weather 101. I'm trying to learn about weather. Hey, Rick, this is the first year that I didn't cover a hurricane, and I'm just curious. November 30th, end of the hurricane season. Why didn't we have more?
I know we have 5 more days. I want to point out one thing. This right here, Jamie, a little bit of a disturbance. It actually, after all this time, we haven't talked hurricanes at all. We're actually watching this for some development, not a major concern. But really, this year, we ended up with a developing El Nino. And you hear weather people talk about El Nino a lot. Waters right off of the coast of Chile get a little bit warmer than average, and it kind of changes wind patterns across most of really a lot of the world. This case, much of the wind across the Caribbean and Western Atlantic, the upper level winds that we talk about, were really blowing hard, and anything that started to get developed, it ripped it all apart.
That's great news. And what about, people are starting to say that this will be an unseasonably warm winter. Are they right?
Well, this also goes back to El Nino. When you have a really significant El Nino, usually you have kind of winter disappears across most of North America. Right now, we're looking at a developing El Nino. And so forecasts, you know, so many times we're pretty good at 2- and 3-day forecasts, not as good at 7-day forecasts, really not that great at long-term forecasts. But at this point, we can look at studies, and if you have a developing El Nino, that oftentimes keeps it warmer across much of North America, and that's kind of what we're basing that forecast on at this point.
Sounds good. We were looking at some people out in the park. Hopefully we'll be doing a lot of that, at least for another month or so. Thanks so much, Rick.
You bet. Welcome.
Bottom of the hour, time for your latest headlines. Hello, I'm Greg Jarrett. The Iraqi government extending a ban on driving in Baghdad for a third day now. A spokesman says that ban may be lifted this coming Monday. It was imposed after the bombings that killed more than 200 people on Thursday. Despite that, at least 87 people were killed in sectarian attacks on Friday, more than 20 today. The exiled leader of Hamas is now saying for the very first time negotiations with Israel are acceptable, but he warns 6 more months of failure to reach a deal on a Palestinian state could lead to a new uprising. A new intifada, perhaps. Israel has been conducting raids in Gaza for months to stop rocket attacks by militants. A home in southern Israel took a direct hit today, but nobody was injured. A Protestant extremist being held on attempted murder charges in Belfast, Northern Ireland, Michael Stone, accused of tossing a package of explosives into a political meeting on Friday. Stone was jailed, you may recall, for life after a deadly 1988 attack on a Catholic funeral, but he was released from prison 6 years ago under the terms of a truce. Coming up top of the hour, just about everybody seems to want an iPod these days, and our servicemen and women certainly no exception. So now one California church has found a way to use the gadgets to bring some inspiration to our troops serving overseas. This is a terrific story. We're going to tell you all about it when I see you at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon out west, right here on Studio B.
And this is a Fox News alert. We've been telling you about the Russian spy who was in London who died from polonium poisoning. Well, now Scotland Yard is doing their investigation on places that he went to in his last hours before he was admitted to the hospital. You are looking at the sushi restaurant where he dined. He also went to a hotel. Scotland Yard now reporting, and this is the alert, folks, that they have finished their investigation and that they have found that this sushi restaurant must be decontaminated. Polonium, we're going to learn a lot more about it coming up in this hour. We're going to tell you more about what Scotland Yard is doing in this investigation and who might be responsible. This has been a Fox News alert. And there's also a serious situation near a resort community, Atlantic City, New Jersey. A serial killer may be on the loose outside of New Jersey's gambling mecca. Police now identifying the second of 4 victims of the so-called Black Horse Strangler. Just 23 years old, this second victim. The medical examiner saying Tracy Ann Roberts was smothered to death. And like the first victim, she made her living as a prostitute. Molly Line joins us live with the latest on the investigation. She's in our New York City newsroom. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Jamie. Well, a growing task force is on the case right now. More than 20 FBI agents and police investigators struggling to find links between these victims. All 4 women were found on Monday in the same ditch behind a rundown motel on the Black Horse Pike west of Atlantic City. The 2 women ID'd thus far have a history of prostitution. Police believe 23-year-old Tracy Ann Roberts had been in the water for several days, possibly up to a week, when she was found. She was identified yesterday. The first body discovered was that of 35-year-old Kim Raffo, who recently lived in a boarding house on Ocean Avenue in Atlantic City. Investigators believe that she was strangled, killed just days before her body was found. 2 more victims remain unidentified. The murders have sparked speculation that a serial killer is targeting prostitutes. There are a number of similarities between these women. For instance, none of them were wearing shoes or socks. All 4 were in their 20s or 30s. The bodies were spaced apart, the women's heads facing east toward Atlantic City. For the grandmother of one victim, the killer's motivation is a heartbreaking mystery.
Who could be so cruel to kill 4 young girls? What could be what did they do? What? And they're my daughter, my granddaughter. How am I ever going to get over this? I can't. She was like my baby.
Lead investigators have stopped short of saying the murders are definitely the work of a serial killer, though they have acknowledged the many similarities between these victims. Forensic experts are working with DNA and dental records hoping to ID the 2 remaining Jane Does. Jamie?
All right, Molly Line in our newsroom, thank you so much. The Iraqi government extending a curfew, trying to stop more attacks. We're following the developments and we're live in Baghdad. The holiday season, too many people giving donations to charities. But what about big corporations? How generous are they? Coming up, you may be surprised about how they open their pockets this time of year. And the former Russian spy that was poisoned, a rare toxin found in his body. We've just learned that the sushi restaurant where he was in the hours before he went to the hospital now needs to be decontaminated. Tell us what you think. Do you think that this crime will ever be solved? Who do you think was involved? Do you think it's connected to another killing, an assassination of a Russian journalist? Well, we're going to speak to an expert on Russia when we come back. And thanks so much for sending your emails. A lot more news ahead right here on Fox News Live.
The Philips HD Flat TV with Ambilight is the only flat TV with the power to transform a mood at the touch of a button. Simplicity is a button that transforms television.
With Febreze Noticeables, your house will always smell nice. Noticeables alternates between 2 scents to continuously renew freshness. So week after week, it's nice.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Nice. Febreze Noticeables. It's always that fresh.
I had enough.
I had enough of feeling embarrassed about my skin.
Enough of just covering up my psoriasis.
I decided enough is enough.
I talked to my dermatologist about how psoriasis was affecting how I looked and how I felt.
I found out there are newer ways of treating psoriasis.
Treatments that have been proven to get results.
So if you've had enough, don't wait. Visit psoriasisinfo.com. Because enough
is enough.
Talk to your dermatologist.
Their mission, a global jihad. Their target, America.
We are living with them. They are here.
Recruiting new members and planning their next strike.
Infiltration of radical Islam is so deep, it's shocking.
Now we expose the world of Muslim extremists. Is America really prepared, and can tolerance defeat terrorism?
The propaganda of Islam is very similar to the propaganda of Nazism.
Tonight, watch Obsession, the threat of radical Islam.
And this is a Fox News alert with the very latest on the investigation into the Russian spy who died from polonium poisoning in London. Scotland Yard now releasing a statement saying that they've completed their examination of the Itsu Sushi restaurant that you're looking at video of, and they have found that the premises need to be decontaminated. Of course, the big concern is whether or not polonium is going to be found, traces of it in any other locations, and whether or not anyone else is in danger, and Scotland Yard asking anyone who has visited those locations to come forward. The mysterious circumstances surrounding the case may in time be pieced together. Many of you sending me emails that you don't think we'll ever know. So many of you are concerned today about what polonium is and who might have it. We want to ask Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution, Michael McFaul, more about that. Michael, how dangerous, we know in this particular case, deadly, is polonium? How much is it available, and who has it?
Well, I'm not a physicist, I'm a political scientist, but what we know about this is it's an extremely rare mineral. It is not easily acquired by, you can't just go to on the street or a store, or you really probably comes from someplace that produces nuclear materials. And that leads to a very small number of countries, including Russia, where this could be acquired.
And what we have learned from our research is that by the time doctors figured out that it was polonium, he only had 3 hours to live. So obviously it's not that easy to detect. A lot of emailers today, our viewers, are asking whether terrorists could get their hands on this substance. Is there any history of this substance with the KGB?
No, and that's partly why the doctors were so confused. They thought it was another mineral, thallium. And it was really late in the day for Mr. Litvinenko that they determined that it was polonium because it is so rare. So this was a very sophisticated murder. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a political murder. There's no other motive that I can see. The real question, of course, is will it ever be linked to the Russian government or some elements of the Russian government? I suspect we'll never know the real truth to that. But make no mistake, this was a terrorist act against this individual.
And Michael, Litvinenko made a statement. He wrote a statement right before he died, and he said Vladimir Putin was to blame for this. What would be the motive?
Well, Mr. Litvinenko wrote a very, very controversial book a few years ago, which basically claimed that the Russian government was responsible for terrorist attacks against hundreds of Russian citizens back in 1999. This, for you to understand, was the equivalent of our September 11th. And Litvinenko had evidence, or so he claimed in his book, that Putin himself undertook these terrorist attacks as a way to strengthen his power. So he was not a very welcome individual within the Kremlin.
What was he doing in London?
He was in exile. He was there. He claims that he was asked by the Kremlin to assassinate a Russian tycoon, Boris Berezovsky. And when he refused to do that, he then left and was granted political asylum by the British authorities.
And he thanks them, actually, in his note for protecting his family at this point. Do you think this is part of a bigger plan, this murder?
Well, it's just pure speculation on my part, and I want to emphasize that. I don't have any evidence to prove it. But there is a very dangerous and disturbing trend that people who are opposed to the Kremlin either find themselves in jail or are murdered, and now even murdered when abroad. So I think it's very sobering, especially when you think about the techniques that were used. This was not a two-bit mafioso operation. This was a very sophisticated political murder.
Well, Michael McFaul, you may not have the evidence yet, but you do have the expertise. Thank you so much for bringing us more perspective on this case. It is fascinating and tragic. But it is time to get into the spirit of the season. So how about giving a gift that gives back? Find out how you can give two presents at once next. And the soon-to-be former Mrs. Paul McCartney getting desperate? Well, it turns out she wants to be a housewife. We've got her new ambition that's coming up with a lot more in your Fox 5. And thanks so much for your emails weighing in on this spy case. We're tracking all the developments. Scotland Yard now saying the restaurant where the spy ate in London has to be decontaminated. Is anyone else at risk? We'll tell you when we come back.
Looking for something new to put on your plate? Go to Chang's Mongolian Grill, where the menu is as limitless as your imagination. You choose the meat, you choose the veggies, and pour on the sauce. Use one or combine them. The choice is yours. Then hand off your creation to the grill master. How does he do that anyway? Chang's is all about delicious, healthy food, good times, and the freedom to choose. It's an all-you-can-eat value at one low price. Chang's Mongolian Grill. Freedom of choice.
They are the superstars that dominate the wrestling world. They've changed the way we view sports entertainment and have unleashed a new breed of extreme. Now, at Survivor Series, 3 worlds will collide. Raw versus SmackDown versus ECW. Who will survive? Survivor Series, live Sunday, November 26th on Events On Demand pay-per-view.
How fast is your quarter mile?
Oh, about minute 10.
How fast is your internet?
Oh, with Comcast, it's way faster than my old DSL.
They have this thing called Power Boost.
Fastest thing I've ever seen. Games, music, videos.
I'm so glad I came back to Comcast.
Comes with free McAfee security.
It's fast and it's safe.
They're making the internet fun again.
I only pay $33 a month for a whole year.
I've never had a service disruption either.
So you can keep on running.
Exactly.
The Northwest has only one concert rock violinist,
Moonstruck Chocolate and Comcast present the 6th annual holiday concert featuring violinist Aaron Meyer and instrumentalist Bill Lamb. Experience holiday favorites from around the world with a fresh new energy. December 15th and 16th at First Congregational Church. Advance tickets available at Safeway Tickets West. Aaron Meyer and Bill Lamb. Get swept up in the season.
Black Friday shoppers turning out in force this year. Extended store hours and those deep discounts proving to be real winners for retailers raking in the holiday green. Thousands stood in lines that wrapped around department stores at the crack of dawn even. Experts believe this weekend is poised to be the biggest opening of the holiday shopping season in years. And the holidays usher in the season of giving, too. Charities across the country accepting donations of money, toys, even clothes. But how about when it comes to major corporations? The giving gets a little more complicated, but do they give it all? Fox Business contributor Scott Bleier is here to explain. And Scott, I was really curious, if they have a good shopping season, do they give more?
No, they don't. They bring it to the bottom line. But, you know, socially conscious investing by corporations and individuals over the last 10 years has become really big, as religious organizations began it because they needed a place to put their money without investing in the so-called sin stocks, gambling, tobacco, alcohol. I mean, over the past decade, it's cropped up into a major product for Wall Street, with one fund having almost $15 billion invested.
Scott, listen, I watch you on Bulls and Bears. I hear you guys talking about these gambling stocks, and you're bringing up a good point, though. While some of them might be a good investment, you can also invest in companies that do good things for the world, or even funds that do good things for the world. What kind of return can you expect when you give to a company that gives back?
That's a great question. You know, there is no hard statistical studies that show whether it's better or worse. But over the last year, for example, while our stock market has hit record highs, social funds and ethical and responsible funds have lagged the market. I think over the last 10 years, what you'll find is that they mirror the market. But, you know, if you want to invest in companies that don't invest in sin or are in environmental polluters or in countries with human rights violations, you can do that. But your goal in investing is to make money. So it's very difficult to beat the averages while limiting yourself in terms of your investments. So while that can be a good place for a portion of your investing capital, you know, to go with your moral and ethical beliefs, it shouldn't be the whole nest egg, so to speak.
Scott, when these companies give, I mean, when there's a Katrina, we see companies be very generous, or a tsunami. But does it take something like that for corporations to really dig into their pockets, or is it part of a strategy?
It is absolutely part of a PR strategy. You know, a lot of times a company gives $10 million and they spend $10 million advertising that they've given this $10 million. You know, corporations generally are there for the bottom line and at the behest of their shareholders. Of course, their shareholders and the companies themselves do want to do good and do well, and giving and philanthropy definitely does that. But, you know, a portion of that does go towards the advertising and PR and marketing of these companies. You cannot get away from it in today's day and age.
All right, Scott Bleier on giving and giving back. Great to see you. Thanks. And for some companies, giving comes easy. Corporate giving in 2005 totaled approximately $13 billion. We're not just talking about Fortune 500 companies. Jewelry designer Joan Hornig donates 100% of her company's proceeds to charity. Doesn't get better than that. And those supporting her business say she's a jewel of a role model. I couldn't resist. And she's here with us. Joan, great to see you. You have on a magnificent necklace. You have brought some beautiful pieces of jewelry, which, you know, if we can pick up a shot of them, I mean, they're absolutely magnificent, and they're expensive, and that means you're giving a lot of money to charity. $250,000 so far. Why?
Why? Because if Paul Newman could do it with salad dressing, I thought I could do it with something that some people wanted to buy and that they would enjoy. And philanthropy is beautiful. People want to do it.
And
they
the
want to
jewelry is
give.
beautiful. And I read you're Harvard educated and you loved jewelry design and you make these fabulous jewels which are available in a number of boutiques and department high-end stores. But it was in a grocery store that you actually had this idea.
Absolutely.
Tell
It
us
was in
about
a
it.
grocery store. I really thought that if Paul Newman could have salad dressing and popcorn and give to charity, his charity in particular, I could develop a jewelry line. And I could go one step further. I could do it to the maximum. And I could say to every purchaser, you buy your jewelry and you choose your charity, and I will give it to the charity in your honor of your choice.
But 100%?
100%.
How do you do that and still have the money to make this beautiful jewelry?
There's a point at which enough is enough, and I have had a very good career on Wall Street, raising money for hedge funds, and it has just been a pleasure to do this.
Well, I know our viewers are going to reach out and want to know more, and we'll put something on the website because you are helping very important charities, children, reading, schools, the environment, everything, and you get to walk away with a beautiful pair of earrings or that gorgeous necklace you have on. Thanks for coming in and telling us about it, especially on this weekend when we all give thanks.
Thank you. We give thanks all the time.
Appreciate it so much. Well, Michael Richards already said he's sorry for his racial outburst on a stage at a Los Angeles comedy club, but Kramer may have to dig a little deeper and pay up for his offensive remarks. The gritty details, that's coming up in our Fox 5.
There's a company that builds more than 1 million vehicles a year in places called Indiana and Kentucky. One that has 10 plants, from the foothills of West Virginia to the Pacific coastline. What company is this? Toyota. A company that, along with its dealers and suppliers, has helped create hundreds of thousands of U.S. jobs. A company proud to do its small part to add to the landscape of America.
If you have back pain, arthritis, fibromyalgia, tendinitis, any kind of joint and muscle pain or stiffness at all, you finally have a safe, effective relief. Dr. Frank's Homeopathic Joint and Muscle Pain Relief.
I had a lot of fear that I would be crippled at a very young age. It was a miracle that I found something safe and that had such dramatic pain relief.
Dr. Frank's is all natural. Just spray here and stop all your pain everywhere. For the first time ever, these 10 homeopathic ingredients have been combined in a revolutionary oral spray that stops inflammation, pain, and stiffness.
I pretty much quit tennis just because of the pounding. Since using this spray, my pain and tenderness and swelling and soreness and stiffness has gone.
If you have any kind of joint and muscle pain or stiffness, Dr. Frank's Joint and Muscle Pain Relief is the safe, all-natural relief you've been searching for.
I have no pain in my knees, no sciatica, and I'm pain-free.
I'm Dr. Ken Frank. I'm a medical doctor. There is a safe way to stop your pain, and I guarantee that your daily aches and pains, whether mild or severe, will stop or significantly decrease with this formula.
Start living your life pain-free. Try safe, effective Dr. Frank's risk-free. Call now and get a 200-spray trial bottle for only $19.95.
It was as though someone has given me an electric shock that went up the arm, and I could not do that. Now, I can't get that pain no matter how far I turn my arm. And now I'm playing tennis again.
Call now and spray away your pain in days. Call now for your risk-free trial bottle of Dr. Frank's Joint and Muscle Pain Relief. Ask how to double the supply for free. And also ask how to get for free Dr. Frank's 100-page book about natural and safe pain relief without drugs.
Call now, 1-800-957-4051, 1-800-957-4051. That's 1-800-957-4051.
Dr. Frank's pain relief really works.
And here's your Fox 5. 5 more stories for your Saturday. The 2 men claiming they were offended by comedian Michael Richards' outburst say they want a personal apology, and a little cash wouldn't hurt either. Richards says he wants to meet them, but not so much on the payment. Borat honored for putting Kazakhstan on the map again. Actor Sacha Baron Cohen nominated for the Kazakh Club of Art Patrons Annual Award for sparking worldwide interest in the country. And Heather Mills, desperate to be a housewife? While the soon-to-be former Mrs. Paul McCartney says she wants to be on the hit show Desperate Housewives because she's a huge fan. But does Mills have any fans? And sometimes you want to go where nobody knows your name. Brangelina spending Thanksgiving motorbiking in Vietnam, and some locals are puzzled why so many photographers were following the mystery couple. An illegal battle over unflattering photos of Catherine Zeta-Jones at her zillion-dollar wedding finally over. The ruling will help define how much movie stars can actually control their privacy. And that's your Fox 5. So glad you could join us for this hour of Fox News Live. I'm Jamie Colby, and I'll see you at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Studio B with Greg Jarrett in for Trace starts now.
And have we got some news for you on Studio B? First on B, a former spy's final hours. Investigators in London retracing his very last steps, warning the public if you came in contact with Alexander Litvinenko, you should come in right away for a medical exam. Under fire in Afghanistan, the British Royal Marines rumble with the Taliban. We report from the front line. Take a live look now, Beirut, Lebanon. On the edge, the Lebanese cabinet throwing its support behind an international tribunal that will try suspects in the assassination of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. But now Hezbollah threatening massive protests aimed at bringing down the U.S.-backed government. Plus, want to skip the long lines at the airport? There's a way, but it'll cost you. Speaking of lines, tired of fighting the crowds out at the mall? Don't know what to get? That hard to shop for person anyway? Well, we have something for the person who has everything that in turn gives something to those in need. It's a win-win for everyone, and it's only a mouse click away. Those stories, Julie with your headlines, Chris with your forecast, and breaking news changes everything right now on Studio B.
Live from the world headquarters of Fox News in New York, Studio B with Trace Gallagher. Substituting today, Greg Jarrett.
Hello, everyone. 3 o'clock in the East, noon out west, 8 p.m. in London, England. British detectives there are tracing the very last steps of the poisoned former Russian spy. Detectives combing over a hotel bar, a sushi restaurant, and other places that Alexander Litvinenko visited just before he was hospitalized. They want to know if he passed on the radioactive toxin to other unsuspecting people. From Studio B to live, Malini Bawa in Washington. Hi, Malini.
Hi, Greg. Just moments ago, Scotland Yard released a statement saying they are shutting down a sushi restaurant in London where former Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko ate on the day that he was poisoned. They say that the restaurant needs to be decontaminated. Alexander Litvinenko was a vocal critic of the Russian government. He died late Thursday in a London hospital days after being poisoned. Doctors found the radioactive element polonium-210 in his urine. British police found traces of polonium-210 at that sushi restaurant, also at Litvinenko's home and at a hotel that he visited the day he fell ill. And British health experts are offering to screen anyone who also visited those locations, but they say they doubt anyone else was exposed.
We aren't expecting there to be any positive results or any risk in the people that we're testing. It is a precautionary measure.
These short alpha particles cannot penetrate the skin. They cannot provide a dose from the outside. However, if that polonium-210 is ingested into the body by via ingestion, eating it, or via inhalation, or perhaps via a wound, then it will rapidly track through the body.
From his deathbed, Litvinenko had written a statement accusing Russian President Vladimir Putin of assassinating him. But speaking from Helsinki, Putin denied any involvement, saying there is no grounds for this kind of speculation. Experts say polonium-210 is made in a nuclear reactor and would likely come from a country with a significant nuclear program. Putin aides, however, suggest the former spy's death is part of a conspiracy to discredit the Russian government. Now, British police are scrutinizing hours of surveillance video from the locations where they detected traces of that poison. They are looking for anything suspicious. Greg?
You know, Malini, it's a bit suspicious also that Litvinenko, as well as a Russian journalist, both reporting on a story that implicated Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, before he was president, of being behind that horrible mass killing, blowing up several apartment buildings. That was an event that propelled Vladimir Putin to the presidency. Is he trying to knock down that story as well?
Yes, he also sort of brushed off any suggestion about that, and he said that he offered his support to British investigators and that he would leave all of this to them.
All right. Malini Bawa, thanks very much. The politics of assassination. It is often the way things are settled in the Middle East. Lebanon's cabinet trying to change that just after an anti-Syrian leader was murdered and nearly 2 years after the assassination of a former prime minister. From Studio B, live now to Mike Tobin in Beirut. Mike?
And, Greg, the remaining Lebanese cabinet members have just given unanimous approval to this tribunal to investigate and try suspects in the 2005 assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. He is one in a string of anti-Syrian vocal Lebanese politicians who have been assassinated here over the past couple of years. This cabinet meeting included a minute of silence for Pir Gemayel, the latest Syria opponent to be assassinated here in Beirut. And the approval of this measure comes over the objections of the pro-Syrian Lebanese President Emil Lahoud, who says approval is now illegal following the walkout of Hezbollah and Shiite ministers, saying that it is illegal because the Shiite ministers are not represented in the cabinet at this period of time. The panel will also, when the panel goes to investigate, I should say, the investigative body will include one Lebanese judge and 2 foreign judges. When it actually goes to trial, it will include 2 Lebanese judges and 3 foreign judges. Now, meantime, the Lebanese army is on edge on every street corner. Pro-Syrian Hezbollah supporters are expected to demonstrate en masse. Government supporters are expected to get out on the street and try to stop them. Violence very well likely could be the result. The cabinet also approved a measure to send the investigation of the assassination of Pir Gemayel to the Lebanese Judicial Council. That is the Lebanese body with the greatest investigative power. Greg, back to you.
Mike, is it also true that the people behind Gemayel's killing posted a communique, and in it they used the name of Syria in describing their group?
I am not familiar with any communique to that extent, but what you do know is that everyone who has been a vocal critic of Syria within the Lebanese government has well, not everyone who has been a vocal critic, but so many of these vocal critics have been assassinated or attempted to be assassinated. We've seen cars blown up and people shot and killed at point-blank range. People suspect Syria quite openly, although there has never been anything official like a tribunal to prove guilt or innocence, put anything on the record as far as who is behind these assassinations.
All right. Mike Tobin live in Beirut with the latest. Mike, thanks. Well, what will come out of today's cabinet meeting coming up today? Fox News foreign affairs analyst Ambassador Dennis Ross will be talking with us about the political crisis in Lebanon and whether following the rule of law is even possible in that part of the world. Coming up in just a few minutes. The curfew extended. Iraqi leaders trying to stop the ongoing violence and more attacks today. At least 5 Iraqi soldiers killed in a suicide car bombing. From Studio B, live now to Steve Harrigan in Baghdad. Steve?
Greg, it's common in Baghdad to hear small arms fire throughout the night, but every now and then you hear a major boom that just makes you stop and say, what was that? We just heard a boom like that behind us a few moments ago. It was probably a car bomb or a very large roadside explosive. In the meantime, here in Iraq, burials continue for some of the more than 200 people killed on Thursday, killed by rocket and mortar attacks in one of the deadliest days since the war. Those people were killed in the Shiite section of Baghdad known as Sadr City. Many of those bodies being transported on the roofs of small cars or in minivans about 100 miles south to the holy city of Najaf, a city sacred to Shiite Muslims. In the meantime, that curfew, since the violence has been extended, roads closed down here. The airport also closed. It has not stopped the explosions, though. It has not stopped the violence. Some of that violence in retaliation against Sunni Muslim neighborhoods. At least 30 Sunnis killed, some by hand grenade attacks. Also, one Sunni mosque partially set on fire. In the meantime, U.S. and coalition forces continue to take the offensive. They're going after roadside bomb makers as well as a bomb factory. One suspected bomb factory was attacked by airstrike just north of Baghdad. At least 20 suspected terrorists killed in those 2 raids. Greg, back to you.
All right, Steve Harrigan live in Baghdad. Steve, thanks very much. Fierce clashes in Afghanistan. British commandos taking on Taliban fighters. That's just some of the action there. The battle lasting at least 2 hours in the southern part of the country. Sky News reporting Taliban fighters tossed rocket-propelled grenades at the British Marines. The commandos may have found a Taliban compound where fighters have been holed up. A Sky News report from the region coming up. Trying to stop the growing bloodshed in Iraq, President Bush and Vice President Dick Cheney holding talks with Middle East leaders. The vice president right now in Saudi Arabia, President Bush heading to Jordan for a key meeting with Iraq's prime minister there this week. From Studio B live now to Rudy Bakhtiar in Washington. Hi, Rudy.
Greg, next week, President Bush will ask Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki to risk his political life by exerting pressure on allies like radical Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr to rein in the sectarian violence threatening to plunge the country into civil war. President Bush, under pressure himself to make changes in Iraq, will also demand Iraqi security forces to assume more responsibility for Iraq's security, something Democrats, poised to take control of the House and Senate this January, are already pushing for.
Sectarian violence continues to rage. Our brave servicemen and women continue to be maimed and killed. And the war is not making our nation safer or more secure. In the days ahead, Iraqis must make the tough decisions and accept responsibility for their future.
Adding to the pressure on the embattled Iraqi premier is the latest stand by Iraqi politicians allied with al-Sadr, who are threatening to resign from the government if al-Maliki follows through with the meeting. The Sadrists hold 6 cabinet seats and have 30 members in parliament, and al-Maliki, a Shiite himself, relies heavily on their support. Today, President Bush jump-started Iraqi diplomacy by sending one of his top guns to Saudi Arabia for talks with King Abdullah. Vice President Dick Cheney hoping he can elicit the Sunni leader's influence to help quell the violence in Iraq. But top White House officials say don't expect any significant changes in strategy until those 3 key reports from the Iraqi study group on the future of Iraq hit the president's desk this December. Greg, back to you.
Rudy Bakhtiar in Washington. Rudy, thanks. Well, the White House says the president is still going to the Middle East to meet with Iraq's prime minister next week. Studio B is going as well. Shepard Smith, live on location from Jordan next Tuesday through Thursday. Studio B and the Fox Report. Well, the Bush twins spending the weekend in Chile. Barbara and Jenna Bush left Argentina on Friday, several days after Barbara apparently had her purse stolen. Thieves stole the purse from underneath a table, even though Secret Service agents were standing nearby. That theft took place Wednesday in the popular tourist district of San Telmo. Still to come from Studio B, the holiday travel season well underway now. Millions flying to visit family, going through long security lines. We're going to tell you how you could zoom through the express lane for a price, that is. To Iraq, troops fighting in the war on terror this holiday season, but a church is sending some technical gifts with a special message. We'll tell you about it. Out searching for 2 young missing boys this holiday weekend. Now the FBI stepping in with an offer for any information for help. A beautiful tourist destination with an ugly murder mystery. We have the latest on the Black Horse Strangler coming up.
The captioning for this program is brought to you by
Urinozinc, a patented dietary supplement for the prostate in the U.S., recommended by doctors everywhere. For a healthy prostate, visit your urologist and take Urinozinc, available at these retailers.
The Philips Norelco Smart Touch XL adjusts to your face for a closer shave with 50% more shaving surface and 3 shaving rings in each shaving head. Philips Norelco, the world's best-selling electric shaver. Simplicity is making every stroke count.
Tick, tick, massive heat waves. Tick, 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 devastating hurricane. Tick, tick, our future is up to you.
Tick. Destination 8 miles.
Getting gas, be there in 10.
Okay.
Where are you headed? The processing plant. Need directions? No, thanks. I've got Nextel GPS. What'd you call me? What? No, this has turn-by-turn directions. We give the directions around here. I'm okay.
The power to get things done with GPS navigation and walkie-talkies. Nextel, only from Sprint. The newest, most powerful Nextel phones are here. Introducing the i880 with its sleek design 2-megapixel camera, and built-in MP3 player, now your to-do list has its own playlist. And check out the rugged i580. It's built to withstand rain, dust, shock, and anything else you throw at it. And the affordable i670 with GPS capability like all Nextel walkie-talkie phones. Phones start at just $49.99. The power to get things done with Nextel. Nextel, only from Sprint.
Their mission, a global jihad. Their target, America.
We are living with them. They are here.
Recruiting new members and planning their next strike.
Infiltration of radical Islam is so deep, it's shocking.
Now we expose the world of Muslim extremists. Is America really prepared, and can tolerance defeat terrorism?
The propaganda of Islam is very similar to the propaganda of Nazism.
Tonight, watch Obsession, the threat of radical Islam.
A little piece of home is always a welcome gift for our troops fighting overseas. Now a California church has found a way to send it to them. One of the most popular gadgets on the market. Yassia McCallion has the story from the Bay Area.
Kevin is a wonderful kid.
Connie Finesca is a proud mom. Her 19-year-old son is in the Marines and just months away from being sent to one of the most dangerous places in the world.
It's hard to know that he's going to go to Iraq. I just have to have faith and know that he's going to come back safely.
And while he's away, Connie and her fellow church members want to make sure Kevin and others in the military get the spiritual nourishment they've received here at home. So they're collecting donations for iPods to be loaded with music and a message from the church's pastor, so the recipients will have a reminder of their religious home halfway around the world.
It has a great message.
Lance Corporal Michael Eklund says most likely he too will be headed for Iraq soon. He's thankful for the effort that's collected $16,000 so far.
It makes me really happy to know that there's people out there that try and make part of their effort to help benefit someone else's lives, as people are out there trying to fight for theirs.
While the military provides the basics and friends and family often send care packages, Eklund says a spiritual taste of home is sometimes overlooked, but very much appreciated.
Just kind of realize what matters, and your religion, your spirituality is something that really connects with your soul as opposed to just something that's materialistic.
In other news, police say they are growing more and more concerned about the fate of two young brothers missing in northern Minnesota after temperatures there dipped well below freezing overnight. The 2- and 4-year-old boys, there's their picture, last seen playing on Red Lake Indian Reservation.